Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Lynn Whitbeck. And she is an expert sales consultant and she helps connect, cultivate, and close more clients. And for the entrepreneurs out there, we're going to talk about sales strategies. We're going to talk about prospecting, getting more clients, referrals, sales. It's going to be a fantastic conversation around the sales process. So, Lynn, welcome.
Chris, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we connected through Podmatch and talk about your early journey, how you got started, and what you do.
Well, I've been selling since I was a Girl Scout and selling cookies. So I've been in sales from a corporate career to now doing what I do. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client conversion, and profit. So, I love sales because it's the opportunity for us to help and serve others and create impact.
Said, everything is sales, marketing, and innovation. And so, we'll get right down into it and talk about this idea. So, this process of how can people distinguish between whether they should be focusing on marketing or focusing on sales?
Well, if you want to make money, you've got to have sales because if you don't sell something, I don't care how big you are, you're not going to stay in business. So you have to sell things, and that is an age old. The sales and marketing. We're sort of kissing cousins, but at the same time, there are definite differences. But depending on what you do and how you do it, your number one thing is the sales. That's the rainmakers. They're bringing in the business so that you can innovate, so that you can grow, so that you can pursue continuous improvement in every process, including your sales process.
Yeah. I love how if he basically sales is the lifeblood of your business. So talk about three proven sales strategies to get more clients and boost profits.
I would be happy to. So the first thing is that you have to come to sales with worthy intent. And what I mean by that is that you have to genuinely want to help and serve others, that you can create lasting impact for individuals, for the business, for their community, for their clients. And so when you come with worthy intent, that immediately gives you a competitive edge because you're in it with them. You give a darn. And honestly, today, people's BS meters are pretty darn high. And after a few conversations, people can figure out whether you have their best interests at heart, that you strive for a win-win. You win because you're helping and serving them. They win because you're helping and serving them, right? I mean, it's a win-win. So that's the first thing. And that is a mindset and that's an approach, and that you have to really own it. And the second thing is it's not about you. You've got to get out of your own way. This is about your client. They guide the decisions, they make them. So you've got to get into the head of your client. And I call this client thinking. It's what do they want, need, or lack? Why does it matter to them so they can? What's the dream? What's the big goal or the initiative? What is it they want to achieve? And when you frame your dialogue around those things, that's what matters because you're connecting with them. And as your client goes through the sales journey, that client why does shift. So it can be initially they want to learn more about you, they want to know what you do, how you might be able to help them. Then it's like, okay, well, I want you to present this to my partner. Well, you're in a different position then. Their why has shifted. So it shifts all the way through. Once they become a client, it's shifted again. Now you're pursuing getting referrals and introductions and additional business from an existing client. And
Yeah.
the last tip I would have, sorry, I'm not even letting you get a word in edgewise. I get very excited about sales, but it's follow up. Most people are not ready to make a decision immediately. And you have to have a follow up strategy that is consistent, that is something that's templated, that you are leveraging existing assets, that you just go, okay, I'm going to pull this, bing, bang, boom, and move the sale forward. You're guiding them forward. And once again, it's from that client why, what's going to matter to them. You're answering one of their top 10 questions or a top 10 objection. You're giving them information that you're building the like, know, and trust so that you can move to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Next question I have is this idea of what is a ghostbuster? And you talk about capturing and converting prospects to clients and being a ghost, how to be a ghostbuster. What is that?
All right, let's hear the theme song. Yes, we all hear it, and we've got our proton pack. So, being a ghostbuster is that in sales and when you're doing your outreach follow up, people ghost you. And a lot of people think, well, okay, well, they just sort of, all those leads, they just sort of die on the vine. It's because here's a core stat: 20% of the salespeople, the entrepreneurs, the business owners sell to 80% of the people. It's because those have been abandoned by 80% of the salespeople, the business owners and entrepreneurs. So you think about it, you've got to follow up and you've got to bust the ghost. So now here's a story from my corporate career, and this is how I've applied that Fortune 500 thinking into everything I do. But big corporate grocery store chain, we'd had a great initial conversation. I knew our product slash service would be an immense service to them, but the guy didn't hear a boo from him. It was like he'd gone into a black hole, didn't respond to an email, a voicemail, a package. And I had this 13-step cadence that I would go through. And once again, I always led with value. And so when I got to step 12, it's sort of my Hail Mary, I would send a meeting invitation, which in that corporate America for me and the enterprise sales meant I would fly in to see him for lunch. And he accepted the lunch invitation, not one other boo. And I let him know when I'd be arriving, if he had a favorite spot. Never heard from him. I still got on that plane, flew in, picked up my rental car, away I went. Was on time in the lobby, and he trotted on down the stairs, and then we ended up having a 3-hour lunch. And he told me, I've really enjoyed and valued the emails and the content that you were sending. It was all important, but I have literally been putting out fires. Every time I'd go to pick up the phone, I'd be interrupted. Every time I went to hit reply to the email. And he says, I'm so glad you sent this lunch invitation. So I said, I looked at it and I went, I got to eat and let's do this. And I did eventually close that multi-million-dollar deal down the road. Everyone who's worked in corporate sales knows that doesn't happen overnight. But the key is that I continued to follow up in delivering that value. And that's what being a ghostbuster is. When you get radio silence, it's almost never about you. It's usually because they're busy.
The other question is, a lot of because I get a lot of outreach and you talk about the 7 deadly sins of sales and how to master to grow your business.
Well, I already mentioned the 3, right? And really follow up versus client why they're really almost tied along with having worthy intent. But the key thing is that you need to have a strategy in your sales so that you can create a consistent, repeatable, scalable process. If you can't do those 3 things, how are you going to grow? You need to be able to bring new salespeople in and give them a roadmap and a plan on how they're going to do their job so they can hit the job running, the floor running, right? They can actually close more sales, do better, not only for themselves, but for the enterprise and the business. You need the organization also running in the same direction, rowing in the same direction. And so that is about having that strategy. And so when you look at those 7 deadly sins, a few of the others are, what does their client journey look like? There are so many people in an organization that touch the client that you've got to think about that. And are there areas of friction or gap that you can improve so you can improve your client delight and retention, right? And also earn the right to get those very valuable referrals. Do you have a referral process that you actually train on and that you seed from the first conversation until you've earned the right to ask for it? Referrals are the easiest, fastest, and highest profitable sale you will ever make. And if you're not doing this, you're leaving money on the table. So we go through those. Negotiation. Have you looked at the common objections? How do you respond to those? Do you understand your deal points? Do you know what you can give so that you can get, right? So that you're making concessions, but getting a win. How do you close? Do you know how to close? Oh my goodness. There are some people who are just literally, they can't ask for the sale. And, if you don't ask, you don't get. So all those things, what happens after the sale? How are you nurturing that client to get more opportunities, more business and introductions?
Yeah. A lot of clients, some things might go wrong. So talk about the situation when things go wrong with clients and what actions must you take when things go wrong with clients.
Well, things go sideways in life every day, right? It's something. And the key thing to remember with your clients is that they're human beings. Human beings, we are a mass of emotions. And this is really important because the most buttoned down individual, there's still a massive emotions underneath. And you must perform emotional repair. Because if you don't, if you just say, oh, yeah, well, we fixed it, we redid them, they're on their way. Yes, of course, it was fixed, but they don't feel like you heard them, that you cared about their frustration or their anger. When something goes wrong, a person will feel almost betrayed in some way, that their trust was betrayed. They were counting on you. And so you've got to do that emotional repair and allow them to tell you how they felt, because that way it gets it out in the open. It's like having a healthy marriage where you tell each other, or healthy partnership where you tell each other when something's just not sitting well. You've got to do that, because if you don't, you end up planting a bitter seed. And some of those bitter seeds are so powerful that you'll lose the client from that alone, or you're going to get enough bitter seeds that the whole field is bad. And then once again, you're going to lose that client. And that client retention is really important. You've earned that client. And even if they don't do business with you again because you solved their problem and they're wonderfully happy, you're going to get referrals and introductions from them. So you've got to maintain that. And, there's all the little whispers that will go on behind the scenes. Oh, no, don't work with them. I had this happen. So this is a really key part. And it's the emotional repair that most people miss.
It reminds me of the airline and also the car rental industry and a lot of industries that just fail to, keep up. So, one thing that talking about is a lot of people, their sales and they love sales. There's this fine line between sales, like sometimes you're like, oh no, another spam call, or oh no, another, outreach link, all this, just how do sales people that excel in sales view this, because there's a lot of bad actors, people give the industry a bad name. So how do you stay resilient and thrive in this field?
Well, the first thing is I don't spam anyone. You will never get an email from me, or I mean a LinkedIn connection. Oh, by the way, here's my Calendly thing. Connect with me. So I will send invitations to someone that I've met in some way, human to human, on a Zoom, like you and I met, whatever it happens to be. And so that we start a human to human dialogue. All right. So I do not participate in the sleazy, scummy spam. I mean, and the thing is, this is a very short-term solution. It's just like, how much spaghetti can I throw against the wall and I'll see if any of it sticks. Well, I don't know about you, but I'd rather eat my spaghetti on a beautiful plate with some asparagus and some French bread or garlic bread, and a nice glass of wine. I'm not going to be eating it off the floor. So here's the thing. If you've got to create those means, and this is where, the marketing side, but a lead magnet that speaks to your ideal client. If you know their why, what is it that they're looking for, that you can create that and you attract them, you welcome them into the fold, and you stack opportunities for them to get to like, know, and trust you, and opportunities for them to have a first offer to get to work with you, but without, you're going to spend six figures just to start to have a conversation with me. No, and even if you think back, in any of you who have experience in like a corporate sales, often you just sort of sell this first, you might sell something smaller to get in and build up that relationship. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about the relationships that you build over time. And even in that initial process, if you don't spam them, you're going to be able to build this like, know, and trust factor a heck of a lot faster. And if you stay up front through outreach and then later through follow-up, when they're ready to make a decision, you're front of mind and you've been reaching out to them and they're going to reach out to you to make that next step.
Yeah. It's funny because I get like about like 40 LinkedIn requests and then just it gets so tiring because it's just like, you don't have time to answer and then there's like 10 follow-ups and it's just becomes very incessant and quite frankly very annoying. So how can people contact you and follow you and check out your stuff? I love this client-centric sales, and with the right intent and integrity first. How can people follow you and find out more about you?
Well, I am the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn right now, still. But I'm never going to spam you there. But of course,
Yeah.
you can follow me there. I have a TV show called Get More Clients. I every week I teach and train on sales. So it's a great way to, start. It publishes also as a podcast on every podcast platform. But if you're interested in a topic like, oh, I'm interested in ghost busting, you can go to that episode, right? You can listen to it and you can start to get a feel like, oh, I like what she says. This makes sense. Or you can say, ugh, no, I'm a one call closer. I don't care about the relationship. I just want the money and I'm running.
Yeah.
Then you're not for me. Don't
Yeah.
even bother. And if you're listening to Chris, I don't think that's you either. So here we go. But those are the two quickest ways. And my website is petite and the digit two, petite2queen.com, and tons of resources there.
And for all the audience, this is let's thank Lynn for coming on and elucidating the sales process. Be sure to give her socials a like and follow. A website will be there. Reach out to her. Check out her trials. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It was a real pleasure.